I've owned my Audi A3 for a year. Here's the good, the bad, and everything in between. I'm Spoolin A3, and in today's video, we're going to be going over my Audi A3. I've owned this car for a year and about a month. It's not quite a year, but we'll round it up. But I'm just going to go over the good, the bad, and everything in between for, maybe you're looking into getting one, an MQB platform, or you already have one and you're just kind of like, what did I get into? So we're going to start off by, what is MQB? MQB is Volkswagen Group module platform. It's got the same DNA, the same EA AAA Gen 3 as the GTIs, the Golf GTIs, the Audi S3, the Golf R. They all share the same hall decks, at least the A3, S3, and the Golf R. It's the GTI's front wheel drive. But yeah, so that's what MQB is. It's the EA AAA Gen 3 with a DQ250 DSG, or you can get it some cars in a 6-speed manual. Obviously the EA AAA Gen 3 is a 2-liter turbo inline 4. It produces, I think it's like 240 crank horsepower. So it's like 220 to all 4 wheels. But I'm going to start with, what is Haldex, which is the all-wheel drive system. Haldex is a front-wheel drive bias all-wheel drive. So it's like 90% of the time front-wheel drive. And when the rear wheels detect, let me go back. When the front wheels start slipping, it sends a signal to the rear wheels to put power. So if you're like stuck on ice on the road, if your front starts slipping, it'll send the signal to the rear to push the car instead of pull the car. And then you have all 4 tires going at the same time to get you out of whatever situation you were in. Next, I'm gonna go over common issues. If you're buying used, I would expect to see some leaks or some sort of issue that you should probably budget for. Like this, I'm doing an oil pan this upcoming weekend because it has an oil pan leak. Then again, this is not the original motor due to my screw up. I made a whole video on that. But this motor has like 98K on it. The body has 86-ish. And, but yeah, if you're buying used, they do most come with issues that you have to address. Whether it be your water pump or an oil pan seal leak or something small but stupid that you just have to keep your eye out for. Obviously, like I said, mine is an oil pan leak. Otherwise, the most common one is going to be your thermostat. But, you just got to be able to budget for that because the parts are fairly cheap. If you're doing it, you're not going to be out a lot of money. If you're having somebody else do it, like a shop or whatever, it'll probably run you a good amount of money. I know in this car, the radio, it works sometimes. I don't really mind, but I took it to Audi, just to see what the problem was, and they quoted me $6,000 for the repair. Obviously, I did not go through with that. I don't have $6,000 to throw into a radio. It's not that important to me, but moral of the story is it gets expensive if you have someone else do the labor for you. These cars aren't very hard to work on. It's a little tight in here, especially when you go to turbo side stuff. But it's not very hard at all. You just got to have some patience. But other than that, it's not that bad. Next point would be that this is a very moddable platform. Obviously, with my car, I have pretty much just an intake, a GFB diverter valve, the DV Plus, and a Borla catback. It's on a stock downpipe. It's stock tuned for now. I'll be making a video when I go stage 1. But as of right now, it's on a stock tune, so it's impressive for a stock tune, but it's not ridiculously fast or anything like that. The IE intake was very easy to install. Once you figure out like the shield or like the routing of this center pipe, it's perfectly fine and it's super easy to install. Same thing with the GFB DV Plus. What I would recommend as far as that install, because I did not film a video on it, I wanted to, but I did not, is to take this off and your inlet pipe, your turbo inlet pipe. Obviously take the engine cover off, but that way you can get 2 hands in there and you're not dropping bolts or, you know, anything stupid like that. And the Borla catback, obviously if you go to my page and look at the shorts, I have a ton of, it's like 8 or 9 videos of just the catback. That is by far one of the best things I've ever paid for. It was like $1,400, but it's awesome. I mean, you get the natural burbles, you know, you get your DSG, you know, pops and whatever. But I think it's one of the best mods you can do to the car, and it sounds really great. I'll put a clip in. Next, I'm just gonna go with cost of ownership. Like I said, maintenance is huge. I do my oil changes every 3K when I can. Obviously, I have to do one with me doing my oil pan. But that's right about the 3K mark. It was, well, I didn't plan it out, but it was super convenient, I guess. I'm like right at my 3K, but you know, you gotta know what you're getting into. Like I said, you know, if you're buying used, it's, you know, it's gonna have some issues here and there. I haven't had a whole lot of them. Like I said, the oil pan is the only issue I have with this motor. I don't have any water pump issues, nothing like that. It does have like a small valve cover leak, but nothing I need to address right now. But I'm, you know, with stuff like that, you just keep your eye on it. Like, I don't need to address it right now, but I'm gonna monitor it because it's something that could be very big. Other stuff for cost of ownership is like, other than maintenance, like I said earlier, like if you're not doing the work, you gotta have that extra multiple hundreds, because it's expensive to work on these. That's why I always recommend doing it yourself and just learning. There's thousands of YouTube videos on how to do everything on these cars. Just look it up, study it. It's super easy to do. I would recommend doing it, because it's also like the toughness where you're learning something, but it's not like, okay, I can't do this. You can do it. I mean, I've dropped an entire motor into this thing, and it wasn't ridiculously hard, pulling or putting it back in. But yeah, and then like as far as going back to like mods, there's a bunch of things that you should and should not do. One of those being this little thing right here, diverter valve spacer. You might think it's worth the money if you're stock. You know, you want some turbo noise on a stock airbox. I'll throw some clips up of what mine sounded like. But I can tell you for from experience, it's not worth it. These, they might sound good, but they will damage your turbo. They will. There's no going around it. It will damage your turbo. You know, you might get the cool flutter like mine had, like you'd let off and you get that iconic turbo flutter. I can promise you it's not good. My factory IS-20, which this has a factory IS-20, but my previous IS-20 had the flutter and it was just compressor surge. Not good for the engine, not good for the turbo. My turbo was in very bad condition when I pulled it off to pull the motor. So what I did to fix that when I got this, because this still had a factory diverter valve, was upgrade to a GFB DV Plus. I have a stock diverter valve in here because the DV Plus is in the car. But it recirculates the boost as a diverter valve should. Unlike this, where you're putting a space in because a diverter valve is made to recirculate the boost back into the turbo so you always have it. Obviously, when you're in boost, it's not always recirculating pressure, but it's only when you're in boost, it recirculates it so that your engine doesn't have to work as hard to create it. This puts the little space in between, and it literally, the way the diverter valve is designed to recirculate, it's not doing that because of this little space. It's venting, which is not what's supposed to be happening. So when you get something like a DV Plus from GFB, you get faster recirculation. So for example, the factory diverter valve, if I go from first to second in boost, like say I do a launch, it'll go to like 18 PSI, and then it'll shift and that'll drop down to say 10 and then climb back up to 18. This will go from 18 to like 16 into second, then up to 18. You're not losing a lot of boost. Your 0 to 60 goes faster, 60 to 130. It makes the car, it doesn't make it faster, it just makes it quicker. Like your 0 to 60 will go down by a good chunk of time because you, in that example, you have 6 more pounds of boost going into the next gear. So when you go stage 1, or say you do a downpipe with all that and go stage 2, you get a lot faster. You get a lot faster, you get a lot quicker, you make more power, you hold more power, and I've had no issues with it. I have never had, once it went on, I have never had to take it off. Like with this, I had to take my factory diverter valve out 3 times just to reseal this. Now, could that be a defective part? Sure. Could it be my fault? Sure. But you shouldn't have to take something off 3 times because it does something that it's not supposed to do. And it ruins the flow of the air in the turbo. So that is my recommendation as far as if you're new, if you want turbo noise, get an intake. There's nothing wrong with the stock diverter valve either. If you get an intake on the stock diverter valve, you will still make that turbo noise. That's a given. You will still make turbo noise no matter what. So, or you could put in a drop-in high flow filter. I did that for a while too, and that was beautiful. It sounded good. Didn't get any faster, but you know, it sounds good. But yeah. So going into, would I do this again if I could reset and we're looking at buying this car again? Yes, I would. If I knew that it was a German car and I knew what came with it, yes. But everybody has to make those rookie mistakes to learn. I'm here to just try to guide you guys to maybe not make some of those mistakes like me that cost me a motor. That is what everybody wants to avoid. Nobody wants to put a second motor in, because if you ever want to trade in or sell it, now you have to list that and your resale goes way down. Like this car is probably worth not nearly as much as I paid for it. I paid like $14,000 in cash for it. It's probably worth $5. It's not worth nearly what I paid for it because of the fact that it's on a second motor. The motor has more mileage than the car, the body. I mean, that's what I had to deal with, and I could have bought another car, but there's something about this car that just keeps me interested every day. I get in it every day to go to work, and I love it. I love getting in my car and knowing that, you know, I drive an Audi every day. Not a lot of people get to drive cool cars like this. So if you're looking at buying one, I would say do your research on it. Make sure it's got, you know, clean Carfax. Make sure the maintenance has been done. But I would say do it. I would say, you know, if you're looking at that Audi, I would buy it, especially if you're, you know, around my age, you know, 18, 19 years old. Do it. This is the first car that I've ever owned in my name, and it's been worth it for the entire year that I've had it. So that's all for today's video. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, don't be afraid to drop them in the comments. I'll answer what I can. But thank you guys for watching. Peace out, y'all.